Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Andrew Aurora, and I help artists and producers bring their creative vision to life through mixing and mastering. And today I'm going to be mixing and mastering a song that I produced myself called Thinking About You. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button as I put out a video like this every single week, and hit that notifications bell so that way you never miss a video. Cool, so let's jump right in. And what I like to do when I'm mixing EDM is I really like to focus on the drums first, specifically the kick, because usually the kick is the foundation of most electronic music, especially the heavier electronic music like dubstep and whatnot. But you want to have a foundation, and I always find that building the foundation off the drums or the percussion is the best bet. And so what I have here is I've got, my kicks and my snares going into their own buses, and then those are going into the shells bus up here, and then that to the drum bus, and so forth. And on my shells I've got a little compressor, and I've got on my drum bus a compressor. And I like to mix into a template that I already have set up with my favorite plugins. So I haven't mixed anything. All I've done is put these tracks into my template, and pretty much just got all my favorite stuff already set up. So the first thing I want to do is focus on the drums, so let's just jump right into that. And, well, actually, first I want you guys to hear the song. So I'm just going to, start this song on the hook so that way you guys can hear what we're working with, and then we'll go from there. Cool, so now you guys kind of have an idea of what the song sounds like. Also, I have a couple reverbs already set up here, a percussion verb for my drums and a session verb for everything else. And that is from the mix session I originally did for this song, so they are the exact same reverbs, and it will make my life a lot easier, make this mix go a lot quicker. So I'm going to just jump right in and make sure that the kick is hitting kind of where I want on my compressors. Cool, everything's hitting where I want it on these particular compressors. I really like these to hit, just kind of tap these compressors and not slam them. And so first thing I want to do is I hear that the snare is definitely a little bit quiet compared to the kick. So let's jump in here and get the snare. Oh, whoops, I forgot to. I think I forgot to route these to, yes I did, I forgot to route them to the snare bus, so let's just fix that real quick. Alright, cool. Hold on one sec. Yep, there we go. Now it's fixed. So let's get the snare kind of up there with the kick. Now, real quick, if you're enjoying this video, I wanted to mention my free resource, the 12 things that you need to be a beast at mixing and mastering. I put this free resource together because as a beginner, it can be very daunting trying to figure out what you should focus on and where you should put your attention to get better at mixing and mastering. And I wanted you to have a very clear guide on what I personally felt were the most important things for you to focus on, so that way you can become a beast and start pumping out great records ASAP. And on top of that, I included some of my favorite resources like my favorite books and my favorite ear training program to help you start developing a strong foundation on your mixing and mastering journey. And if you want to pick this up, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of this video. And on top of that, if you'd like an opportunity to work with me and have me mix and master your music and potentially have your music featured on this channel, there's also a link in the description for that as well. Now on to the rest of the video. And these are both pretty much the same snare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a clipper on here. And I think I accidentally had a clipper saved on both of these tracks, which was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to clip too much. So let's just put it on the bus. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the snare sample I have up here for the hook, and I'm going to add some reverb. Cool. And then come down here and add some reverb to this one. And the reason I'm doing two separate reverbs is because the hook here is a lot less open than the kind of verse section. So I want to be able to add more reverb to this one instead of putting it on the bus. Cool. That sounds okay to me. And then let's check this in the hook. All right, that sounds good to me. And then let's check my snare bus real quick. All right, so we've got a bunch of low end energy down here that I don't want on my snare bus, so I'm just gonna cut that stuff out so it doesn't get in the way of my kick and bass later. And I also want, I'm going to move my clipper after this real quick because I want to add or actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this after the clipper, and then I'm going to add some SSL onto this because I want it to hit just a little bit harder. There we go. Now we got a little bit more low end. The snare hits a little bit harder, which was the goal. And I like to put the clipper after the EQ because I like to use the clipper kind of as the last stage of the process. And then I just got this EQ cutting out some lows, making it, you know, cleaning it up for the kick and the bass so it doesn't get in the way of that stuff. Alright, so now we want to make sure that my clap is at a good volume compared to my snare. We got a clipper on my clap. Alright, the clap is really just supposed to be an extra layer. And then we're going to send a little bit of this clap to the reverb as well. Add some ambience. Same with the snap over here. The snap is going to need some reverb. Cool. Got that. Also, if you guys want to know my reverb settings in case you want to save them, I'll check that real quick. If you guys want to save these reverb settings so that way you have them, if you have Pro R, FabFilters Pro R, go ahead and just copy those settings. And for my session verb, which I'll be using a little bit more later, this is my settings for my session reverb. All right, cool. Now let's keep going. Right now my goal is just to get the drums pretty much all dialed in. And I can hear that this definitely needs some reverb. Hats definitely need to come up a little bit. And we got them going to what I call an overhead bus because this was originally meant for regular drums, the way this was set up and named. And I want my whole drums. And these hats are a little dry, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them to the percussion verb. So I think that sounds pretty good. Let's check the snare roll down here. All right, I think until we get everything else dialed in, it's hard to really know exactly where everything needs to sit. But let's just listen to the drums all together. Now this clap impact is definitely too loud, so I'm going to bring that down some. Probably don't need JST clip on this. All right, let's leave that like that for now. And now what I want to do is I want to come up here and check my drum bus, see where we're hitting on that. We're hitting at a good level, but what I want to do now is I want to add some DF Excite, which this is a multi-band saturator and will really make these drums sound super good. So let's bring back the mix on all of these. In fact, I think I might even have a preset. Not for this, I don't. Okay. Not the preset that I thought I had. I just want to do a little bit of gentle, because this plugin can be kind of aggressive. Turn on the HQ mode for oversampling. Cool, that added just a little bit of subtle life to the overall drum mix. Now let's see where we're hitting on my mastering chain now with just the drums. Whoops. Cool, we're tapping the mastering bus compressor, which is perfect. That's exactly where I want it. So let's just move on from the drums real quick, and let's move on to the bass and the chords. Now, the way I produce this, there's really not a whole lot of like EQ or anything that needs to be done to the bass. It's pretty simple. All I have here is a limiter just controlling the volume on the bass, nothing else. This is what the bass sounds like on its own. Nothing particularly special about it. And then let's go listen to the chords on their own. So what I'm going to do with the chords is I'm going to actually send them to the session reverb here. And I accidentally had this plugin left over from my template, which is actually squashing these too much. Let me back this off. I don't want that movement killed in my chords. This is just a limiter, so I'm kind of using it to control volume, but also if I need to, control peaks. But on these chords, I really don't need to do that. And then what I'm going to do is it's really important a lot of the time with this kind of music to have a side chained kick to the chords and the bass and pretty much anything else that needs to get out of the way of the kick. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to solo the kick, solo this, and I've got my bass going to a bass bus, my chords going to a chords bus, and my chords and bass bus going to my chords and bass bus here, if that makes sense. So go to the Pro C, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to add a side chain. Let me go find the kick bus. Where is it? Here it is. And then I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to come to sidechain, hit external, and then it should be working now. So let's check it. Yeah, working a little too well. So let me back that off, and what I want to do is have kind of a quick attack, so that way the kick, quickly ducks this stuff out of the way. But the release is really where you want to play with this, because the release is going to control, how it's going to control how long the kick holds this sound down for. And the goal that I'm going for with this really is to have the kick duck this stuff out of the way and make space for itself, but not really hear the ducking, if that makes sense. I mean, to a tasteful level, because for this kind of music, you want that kind of sound. It's a good sound. But my goal right now is to just kind of get this stuff compressed a little bit just out of the way. And I want to turn off the auto gain, because I don't want the volume coming up when I start, compressing this and ducking it out of the way. So let's see where we're at right now. So I want the release long enough for the tail of the kick to still kind of hold it down, but again, not too much. And if you noticed, when I pushed the release too far, it held it down for too long, which was not the goal. I really wanted to hold it down long enough for the whole kick to really cut through, not just the transient of the kick. But I don't want it to hold down for so long that the chords and the bass sound squashed, because that'll ruin the entire song. So yeah. The release is really what's going to control that, and I'm aiming for around -3 dB of compression. I don't want too much. I don't want too little. I just want it to duck just a little bit. So to me, that sounds like a good point to move on from. So let's just check where we're at with our drums, with our chords and our bass, and let's see where we're at in terms of balance. I still feel like the hats might be able to come up just a little bit. And here's how I like to do things. A lot of people, you want to be careful not to mix in solo too much, but I like to kind of check things next to each other in solo. So have maybe two things soloed. In this case, I have all the drums, have the chords and the bass, but I still have like the leads and the vocals muted. So that way I can see how these two elements stack up next to each other, and see if I need to make space for these elements as they relate to each other. I think that's way easier than trying to figure out what's getting in the way of something with everything playing. It's easier to isolate it down to two main things, and then see if they're getting in the way of each other, and then kind of build off of that. That's just something I like to do. It makes it easy to me. So let's just keep going, see where we're at. And we're going to include the leads now in this. So let me just solo this, solo the drums, and I'm going to collapse this for now, so that way, the session's less messy. And we're going to add, too much. We're going to add the leads in here now, and I'm going to I should have made an extras bus. I didn't do that, but I should have done that, so that way I could mute those together. And that's fine. There's not many of them. So now, to be honest, there's really not a lot to do to the lead. The way I produced it with effects. I'm pretty sure I EQ'd it a lot before I put it in, or before I exported it for mix. So honestly, it sounds good the way it is, and I'm not sure if I'd want to sidechain it to the kick or not and let the kick duck it out. Part of me kind of doesn't want to. I want it to kind of do its thing and rock its lead roll without the kick ducking it. But this is kind of a preference thing. You could decide if you wanted to or not. But for me, for now, I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to worry about the extras elements. These are all like sub drops, bass drops, all that stuff. I'm going to leave all that stuff kind of till the end and worry about it then. And right now, what I'm going to do is worry about the vocals, because the vocals play a very important role in this song. They're not just vocals, they are a lot of the ambience and the emotion of this song. And you will see what I mean when I add the reverb and add any other effects I'm going to add to these vocals. I printed them dry. I have the wet versions, but I decided to print them dry so I could show you the difference between dry vocals and wet vocals in this particular song with the way that I did the production. So let's jump right into the vocals. So moving on to the vocals, let's do some effects. Let's start with the beginning portion of the song. A lot of the time I like to work from left to right in order just to kind of, keep stuff simple, make sure I add, each element in. It just kind of depends, or I like to work from top down, so maybe start with this vocal first, but we're going to move from left to right with this, and since these are the verses, I'm going to move them up top. So let's do that. So you hear how dry and weird sounding that sounds? Now let me show you what happens when I send it to the reverb. Completely different. It transforms the sound. And then this element here actually needs to come down. I like to use limiters for my volume just in case I have to do automation later. It makes my life way easier, because I don't want the fader like pulled down and then trying to do automation, because fine automation moves will be a lot different when the fader's down here than if it's at unity. So I'm just going to use the limiter to bring this down. Now this sounds like a weird little honk, but watch what happens when I send it to the reverb. Completely transforms it. Now the song sounds completely different, literally with just adding some effects to those vocals. All right, now let's go to the hook and add some effects to these vocals. Oh, didn't want to do automation. Watch the hook transform. Alright, so there is something I need to point out here, and that is that the low end on that particular vocal literally just jumps out too much. So what I'm going to do here is, normally, you might think I'd actually go to that single channel and do this, but I'm going to do this on the, whoops, I'm going to do, typing in all sorts of mess. Come up here and add a multi-band compressor. And I'm going to do this in case the lows just get too much on the whole thing. And I'm going to duck this low. I'm going to duck this low stuff that is like jumping out at me. Let me just come to this one spot where that jumps out. That low end frequency is much more under control now. I think I put too much reverb on this. Hold on. Now you can hear where it's starting to sound like a finished song. Let me just go add in all the other elements real quick, make sure they're good, and then we can start really focusing on getting everything dialed in and then mastering the song. So let's start with this. This needs to come up in volume, definitely. This needs to come up. This needs to come up here. So the goal here is just to get everything kind of where it needs to be level wise. And you might be wondering why everything's at like minus 19 on my limiters. It's because I had those saved in my template on these Vox extras. This template wasn't originally designed for EDM music, but I kind of refined it before, or I kind of like reworked it a little bit before doing this. Okay, so believe it or not, this actually needs a little bit of air. And I've got this cool little vocal here, or vocal plugin here, which adds, you got a knob here that does parallel saturation, and then one that does kind of this dynamic EQ thing. So we're going to try to see if we can get this dialed in just with this plugin. I may not be able to, but we're going to give it a shot. And this is also a limiter. I hate that because I accidentally clicked on that and it just limited the crap out of them. So what I'm going to do here is there's actually, I want to do some EQ to this. That's kind of what's bugging me. So let's check this next to everything else. So it's starting to sound a little bit better. This isn't my favorite EQ for adding frequencies. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take off that high-end boost. And we're going to do a little bit of this with the SSL EQ, which is a much better EQ in my opinion for, you know, boosting frequencies. So let's do a little bell curve. It needs a very subtle boost. It doesn't need very much because it's already pretty bright, but it just needed a little bit of a different curve. One other thing that I want to try with these vocals is I have a really cool plugin that I like, JST vocals. This will add a nice little glue to the vocals. Let's do this. To me, it's very subtle, but that compressor adds a nice little bit of air to the vocal, and it also glues it just a little bit more, all the individual elements, and I really like that. So now let's listen to it in context with the rest of the mix. take a little bit of harshness out of there. And then let's check our limiter. Cool, so I think we are finally getting the vocals dialed in. They're getting pretty damn close to being, you know, where they need to be to sit right in the mix. Now let's go add the extras elements in real quick. All these plugins here are just there in case I need them. They're not there really doing anything unless I want them to. So they're just set up there in case I want to use them. They're not doing much. I think this might be, yeah, just a low cut. Really nothing else. Let's go in here and add some, let's do some JST clip on that gunshot. This definitely needs some reverb. That definitely needed more reverb. I was like, that sounds too dry for some reason. I think that sounds better without the tone and the aggro on it. Bring this up a little bit. There's one frequency bothering me in here. Still some mid-range in here that's just not quite sitting right. Try it. Something about the vocals that wasn't quite sitting right, and I was trying to figure it out. I believe... Let me check something. I think it used to have delay on it. I think that might be exactly what it is. So let's go... I've got a delay down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to switch this to a quarter note. And we are going to send to that delay. And where is it? We've got a stereo delay vocal. What happened here? Oh. I'm not sure what just happened there. All I did was add a stereo delay. Let me check. I think it's confused. I think it thinks that I soloed the delay track. Alright, send some of this to the delay too. There we go. That's what it was missing. It needed some delay. Okay, cool. I knew something about it didn't sound right. I think this might also be missing a little bit of delay. I might have tried putting delay on it before, but let's try it. Actually, I think I might know what's wrong with this one. So if I remember right, I think I put the effects directly on this track, and I had kickstart on it, and it was making it duck. The only way for me to really get that dialed in, actually, there is a way for me to do this. Okay, so instead, instead of sending it to the verb, let's do Pro R. Where is it? Pro R. Let's come in here, and then I've got my session verb. All right, add that to it, and then let's do this. There we go. I knew that sounded a little funny. So what I did is I have the kickstart, because this is like a sidechain plugin, and what it's doing is it's ducking the reverb. And when I made the song originally, what I had is I did the reverb on this track directly on the track, and then added added kickstart so it would duck the reverb out, making it sound super cool. I was wondering why it sounded a little funny. That was why. Cool. So now that we've pretty much got most of the song dialed in, now it's time to start working on the fine little nuances of the song and going back and revisiting certain things and just getting it completely dialed in. So now we're going to go back and revisit some of the stuff we've already done and just get the whole song dialed in and give it a whole listen from front to back. That's actually limiting it, so we don't want to do that. How about I just use the, this time I'll actually just use the trim on the JST clip. Heard a little frequency in there I didn't like. That was weird. I'm not sure what's going on here. I feel like that went on for a little bit too long. I'm not sure what happened here. I don't know if I'm not sure what I did in the original version, but it definitely didn't tail off like that. But it did, I believe it cut off exactly where it was supposed to. Maybe I did some kind of, wait, I think I know what I did. Because that doesn't sound right. I think what I did was I did an EQ automation, I believe. So this is what I did, and I didn't save it, and I should have saved it. This is a production element. So I'm going to teach you guys a cool little production element right now. So let's do a write, and let's do, so what we're going to do is we're going to low cut this out. So that wasn't perfect. But let's cut this out. Let's do that. Cut as many of these out as I can. These little dots. And that one. And let's figure out where the transition starts. Right here. So that's not perfect, but that is what I did in the original, is I like low cut this out. Let's see if it does it at the end here. I want to automate this off as well. Or, you know, back down. So pull this back down. Whoops. Do 2 dots there. I should have had this saved as a production element, and I did not. Let's copy this move over here, and we're gonna put it about right there and have that kind of go from like there. It's gonna sound weird. Let's see. Actually, that will work. That's perfectly fine. All right, let's start back. Let's start back here again. Now this clap impact definitely needs to come up. So I brought the reverse snare up a bit because it was too quiet. I also brought the clap impact up because it was too quiet. I think it's a good volume right here. I don't know, it might be able to come up just a little bit more in both these sections. That's pretty close. I would try to get it perfect, but now at this point I'm trying to get the video like close to done. Alright, so we are getting pretty close to this song being done. The only thing left I really have to mess around with is the mastering, and then maybe just go through here and tweak a couple other little things. So let's get on to messing around with the master bus. So let's jump right into the master portion of this song, and let's jump right into the busiest part of the song. Let me first break down kind of what I got on my mastering chain. So I've got an EQ here, which has a couple notches that 99% of the time I find that there's something in this frequency area that I just don't like. They really don't need to be saved there, but I just happen to have them saved. And then we've got the JW Mix, which is a mix bus compressor that is based off of the SSL comp. And this thing's really cool because it's got this button called the No Small Time button. This is from my favorite mixing and mastering engineer of all time, Joel Wanasek. And this button really just kind of adds some nice mastering texture to the whole song. We've also got some max bass, which adds some low-end harmonics to the song. Got a little DF Excite, which isn't doing anything at the moment. I do need to turn on this high quality knob, or high quality button, and of course turn on the DF Excite. And then we've got Ozone 10, which really doesn't have a lot going on right now. We've got the maximizer, we've got a little bit of soft clip, and then we've got some EQ boosts here, a little bit of mid-range boost, little bit of top-end boost, and we're going to see what all this stuff is kind of doing to the master. So first, let's check out the hook of the song and then, see what this compressor's doing. Hear that it adds a little bit of nice top end sizzle, but I also think it makes it sound a little bit more glued than I actually want it to sound. But we're also mixing into this clipper here, so I'm going to check this. And we're limiting a little bit harder than I want to, so let's pull the limiter back some. So using this clipper can definitely kill like some of the spaciousness of the song. You got to be very careful with that. We've also got some max bass here, which just adds some low end harmonics. So let's see what this is doing. Super subtle, but it does add a little bit of richness in the low end. And of course, let's check my EQ moves I did here. Let's see if I still want them. Yeah, just a little bit of harshness that I wanted to get rid of. And then we've got DF Excite here. Which literally adds just a little bit of excitement to the whole master. I'm definitely going to use a little bit of this, so let's just listen to this. actually don't think it needed that mid-range boost. And I think that, I mean, it's sounding pretty good. We've got a little bit more that we can do to it here. So what I wanted to do there was I really just wanted to tame that kick just a little bit, and I was messing around with the attack and release times. You can see that I did a little bit of a slower attack, and the reason for that is because low-end frequencies take longer to build up, so I wanted to go a little bit on the slow side. And with the release, I also wanted to have a little bit of a longer, it's not super long, but a little bit of a longer release, so that way it would kind of hold the kick instead of giving it some weird kind of movement because of the physics of the low end frequencies. That it's kind of a science that I'm not like super nerdy about, but you know, there are people out there who can explain like numbers as to how, like, you know, the low end frequencies and what the best attack and release times are. I'm not quite that nerdy, but I do know that just to my ear that this sounded pretty good, and that's ultimately what I focus on more than anything. I'm not the super nerdy guy that focuses on specific numbers. I'm more the guy who focuses on, does it sound good or does it not sound good? So I think that this sounds pretty good, and I think that we should just give the whole song one listen and then see if there's anything that I want to tweak on the master or anything else throughout the mix. I'm not sure if I maybe left an element out of this song, but something about that sounds like it's missing something to me. Maybe it's just that was too quiet. harsh frequency in that snap. I think I neutered the snap. Whoops. Whoops. Got this little issue here. Cool. So that's pretty much the song. I mean, I could keep messing with it, and at this point, if I was going to keep messing with it, then I would probably take about a 15 or 20-minute break, let my ears rest, or maybe even revisit it in a couple hours or tomorrow and mess with it a little bit more. But I think at this point, the song is pretty well mixed and pretty much close to being done. I mean, I believe there are probably a few little details I'd mess with. I'd probably mess with mastering a little bit more and things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much the song. I think it sounds pretty good. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And, if you guys want any mixing and mastering services, please reach out to me. I will leave a link to my website in the description. You guys can apply to work with me and maybe even have your song featured on my YouTube channel so I can teach you guys how to mix and master your own music. So I will see you guys next week, and peace out.